growing up, I had a lot of Star Wars toys. And then I kind of got out of Star Wars, and when I got back into it in the 90s, I realized there was a whole series of figures and ships that I didn't even know about. So let's look at 10 Star Wars toys I would have loved to have as a kid. Welcome back to the Junkman, everybody. It's me, the Junkman. Yes, it's the Junkman here with another video. And boy, we're going to talk vintage Star Wars toys. I know it's a shocker, isn't it? Now, as I said in the opening teaser, whatever you want to call it, I had a lot of the Star Wars. Between me and my brother, between 78 and about 83, we had about everything. Maybe some 84 toys. Combined both of us, although my brother got out of it before I did. We had almost all of it. The only thing I can think off the top of my head maybe we didn't have was that Rebel cruiser ship that was kind of like a carrying case. If you count the RC Sandcrawler as part of the vintage line. A few other things. The Death Star Destroyer. Remember that? I remember trying to find it one Christmas and we could never find it anywhere. And then I guess after that we gave up on it and started getting other new stuff that came out. But when I got back into Star Wars in the early 90s, I can remember getting a book that had Vader on the cover, the Star Trek and Star Wars collectibles, and looking through it and saying, they made that? They made that? I didn't know about this term. What? And so many just blew my mind. And I thought, man, if I had those as a kid, I would have loved Star Wars toys even more than I did. It would have been so fun to play with. So I thought in this video it would be fun for me to at least make a list of 10 of those that I would have loved to have a kid if I stayed in the toy line. Now, most of these will fall under Power of the Force or late 1984, because that's when I was moved on from Star Wars to He-Man, because Santa Claus forced me into He-Man. I guess it was 84. Woke up Christmas, didn't want He-Man stuff. Everybody had it, so I was like, that's heck, I don't want to wear it. I'm Star Wars, a Star Wars kid. And there was Castle Grayskull and all the He-Man figures. And they got Snake Mountain and the Hordak Village and stuff by the end of the year. I went crazy for He-Man, which is odd because now looking back, I think I was only into He-Man like a year. But I could have swore it was like 5 years of my childhood. But then when I went back and looked at the series that all came out, I'm like, man, I guess I wasn't into it as long as I thought I was. I got out of it right about the time the Evil Horde came out. I remember getting the playset with the puppet, and I had the first series of Evil Hordes, the Two-Face, the guy with the two heads that could punch himself. I think that was a Hordak figure, Hordak, of course. But anyway, that's him. That's another thing. So let's go through this list. Number 10, I would have loved to have that. I didn't know about Anakin Skywalker. I know you say, Junkman, what a boring ass figure. Junkman, why would you want this? Because he's a Skywalker. How many Skywalkers besides Luke did I have as a kid? 0. What about Princess Leia? She's a Skywalker. She's not a Skywalker. She's an Organa. Sure, she's technically a Skywalker, but I didn't have any figure with a Skywalker name. And I would have loved to have the key character, Darth Vader, out of his costume. This would have been awesome. Not saying it was one that I would have played with all the time. I think it was one of those figures I would have got and looked at and admired, but I don't know how much play value. So he is at the top of this list at number 10. Number 9 is not Power of the Force related. I'm kind of shocked I didn't know about this one. It must be 83 or 84. Yeah, because it came out in Return of the Jedi line. And we're talking about the Y-Wing. I had a die-cast Y-Wing. I didn't have one for the figures, and Y-Wing was around since the first movie. It took them until Return of the Jedi to release a Y-Wing, and then they put Admiral Akbar in the cockpit. Cockpit. So what took so long? What took so long? I don't know. But they made it, and by the time they made it, either I didn't know about it, or I didn't see it at the store, or I was probably just out of He-Man, out of Star Wars. But I would have loved to have a Y-Wing. I love ships. I love the X-Wing, the TIE Fighters, and one I didn't put on this list, and it just hit me, I should have, TIE Interceptor. I don't remember the TIE Interceptor at all, and I would have loved to have that. But it was a little too close to the TIE. I had TIE Fighter and Vader, so I wasn't as been excited about it because it was kind of the same, except the wings looked different. So let's move on to number 8, a figure that would look cool with my Death Star playset, Imperial Gunner. Now today, this is one of my favorite Kenner figures, at least design look. You know, I've got a different list of my favorite figures because it reminds me of my childhood, or I remember playing with them, like Han Hall. Then I got this one I never had as a kid, didn't even know about it until the 90s. Just love the look of it. And I tell you, if I had this, I would have wanted to get at least 3 or 4 of them for my Death Star playset. This thing looks cool. It's odd that they waited so long when there was no one really had a Death Star anymore, or if you did, you had a hand-me-down one by this time, to release a Death Star figure, but they did. Number 7, maybe a controversial one. I hear some people don't like this figure, and it bugs me when they say they don't like it. We're talking about Amanda Man. Amanda Man. A man. No matter how you say it, it's a big pickle with skulls all over his staff. Now this thing, I love cool looking aliens. And this one I kind of remember from the movie. I don't know if I remember from the movie or I saw it in some kind of book. I knew it. I don't like I didn't put Yak Face on the list because I never saw Yak Face. But this figure I knew. Didn't know his name. And if I knew they made an action figure of this thing, I would have had to have it. I mean, it looks like a walking cucumber. Who doesn't like walking cucumbers? I don't want to meet the person that doesn't like that. Now, number 6, we're going to go way back to 1980. I didn't know about this one until I started collecting. Maybe I forgot about it. I'm sure I probably saw it in some of those little catalogs. I don't think I ever saw it at the store. And that's the large size action figure by G88, the rarest of the large size figures. You know, this was released when the line was basically canceled and nobody was ordering it anymore, so it's hard to find. It would have been cool to have, just because it's a bounty hunter. I don't know about you, but I was obsessed with bounty hunters, especially if I saw this in 1980. I didn't even have Boba Fett. Boba Fett would have been cool to have too, but at least I knew about Boba Fett. I just wasn't into the large stuff much. It would have been cool to have. Let's look at another ship. Number 5 is one that I actually have now, but I didn't have it as a kid, didn't know about it as a kid, and that's the Imperial Shuttle. What a great ship. It opens up on the side. You got a little place where you can put your figures out and play. You got a cockpit that opens up so you can put figures in there. It's got the landing, a little ramp so you can have figures walk out of it, and it's a good guy and a bad guy ship. That's right. You can put the Emperor, Darth Vader, Stormtroopers in it, Royal Guards, or you can have Han, Luke, Leia, and them taking over the shuttle. Oh, God, this would have been so much fun. It was so big and huge. Oh, I love this thing. Oh, man, if I could stay at a child a little bit longer, or damn Santa Claus didn't bring me He-Man toys. Let's go number 4. Number 4. I would have loved this figure. This is hard not to put number 1. I would have loved this figure. Han in carbonite. Because I'm a sucker for a gimmick, or it was as a kid for sure. Helmet's taken off, that's great and everything, but this is a cardboard block. I did have the Han in carbonite that came with the Slave 1. Oops, I guess I'm not supposed to say that word. Sorry, Disney. But you know, it wasn't that fun. This thing was a figure I dreamed of. I was like, Han in carbonite. And that was one of the ones I saw, and I was like, what? They made a Han in carbonite, and I had the book I had didn't have a picture of it, just had a listing of it, and I had to get on Prodigy, yeah, before I even had American Online, try to find pictures of it. I don't think I ever could. Han in carbonite. It's still one of my dream pieces to have on card, but as I saw at the convention I just went to, they were running in close to $1,000. I mean, that's on a good bubble, over $1,000 for a good bubble. And this one, like a lot of the Power of the Force figures, the bubble's yellow really, really fast compared to the other ones. And Han in carbonite's not one you can get around with yellow, because you can't even tell what it is then. Oh, number 3, an action figure. Oh, this one would have blew my mind. R2-D2 with a pop-up lightsaber. Whew. This is awesome. Again, I love a gimmick. My friend had R2 with the sensor scope, but I never had that R2 because I already had one R2, and I was like, I'm not buying another R2. That's just a waste of my money. I could buy another toy. And I always liked his sensor scope. I thought it was kind of cool. A pop-up lightsaber was another one as a kid I dreamed of, because as a kid, one of my favorite scenes is Return of the Jedi is on that skiff, you know, the pirate scene when he's walking the plank and the lightsaber flies up. You know how it goes. You've seen the movie. God, a lot of them been shooting that little lightsaber. I would have lost it in the first hour. Hell, I'd have probably lost it in between the car seats on the way home. You know, back in the back where we used to tuck down the seat belts into this. Remember that? We didn't wear seatbelts in the back seat. We tuck them down in there and you couldn't even get them out. Remember that? Number 2, and it's back into the same scene here. We're talking the Tatooine skiff. Now, I'll be honest, this thing doesn't look like it's as much fun to play with as, let's say, the shuttle, because this stays on a planet. But it looks like a little hard to play with, but it just looks so awesome. I think just the look of it, I would have loved playing with this. And it would have been good to play with it as a kid where I didn't care. That was a little rough with it, you know? That was a little rough with it. Now, I've got this one back here that's more like a 90s one. I think Target released it. So, because my dream piece is get that one in the Kenner. But even that was like, let me just barely touch it. It's so fragile. But I would have loved it. I would have had it. I would have thrown it up against the bed, against the wall. It would have been broke within a week probably, but I would have loved it. Now, before I reveal number one, the number one thing I would have wanted the most, let's tell you about 2 new shirts I got. If you're a vintage Star Wars collector, fan, whatever, you're going to love this. We got 2 vintage toy shirts. You're going to love this one. Check this one out first. We got Han and Carbonite, the figure that was on my list, and Bosch Leia, Princess Leia in disguise, one of my favorite figures as a kid. Why? Because her helmet looked like caramel? No, that's not why. Why? Because I could chew on her helmet and get it stuck on my tongue? That was funny. But no, it was just awesome looking figure. But here you go, Han, she's got the bounty, and there's Han and Carbonite. And another one we got is Stormtrooper shirt. Check this out. Stormtroopers led by Luke Skywalker with no helmet. That's a cool figure to get. Well, I meant shirt. That's a cool shirt to get. But it's a cool figure too because it's my number one. It's my number one. Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper outfit. It's like getting 2 figures in one. That's what's good about the Leia Bosch figure. It was like 2 figures in one. This was too. You had a Stormtrooper or you had a Luke. Oh, this would have been so awesome to have. Would have been better if we had a Han to go along with it, or if we had Han first. I would pick a Han over Luke. But man, it's so cool. Put the helmet on it. And oh, I love it. I would have loved this as a kid. Why did they wait so long? Kenner, why? Why did you wait so long? But you can get it on a shirt. Junkmanmerch.com. Junkmanmerch.com. You can get both of the new shirts if you head over there today. Before Disney finds out. Seems they're okay with people selling fake Star Wars toys, but don't put a Star Wars toy on a shirt. Anyway, that's 10 I wish I knew as a kid and wish I had them. What about you? Now, this list isn't stuff you wish you had but didn't get. It's more you didn't even know about it, and you wish you knew about it so you could have had it. Let me know how your list. Let me know some things you would have loved to have as a kid. And as always, until the next video, thumb up this one so you know my content. Subscribe to the channel, and you believe it, we will talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.